Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Top of the hour here in America's Newsroom. I'm Bill Hemmer.
And I'm Megan Kelly with a developing story near the Mexican border. The tunnels beneath our border with Mexico are used to smuggle many things: illegal immigrants, drugs, and now, according to one report, men who are willing to die for the privilege of killing Americans. The report claims that literally dozens of Afghan and Iraqi terrorists paid off Mexican drug lords and came through those tunnels to try and mount an attack on a U.S. Army base. This, according to the Washington Times. Joining us now on the phone is Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Garner, spokesperson for the Army base where this all happened. And, well, actually, we're trying to get his link connected now. For now, we're going to start with former FBI Special Agent Bob Strang. Okay, right. Bob, thanks for being here with us.
Right.
We're going to get
former DEA, Megan. More important in this case because it was DEA who actually was able to obtain this information.
Bob, thanks so much for the clarification and for being here with us. So let's just make sure our viewers understand what was going on here. There's this Army base out in Arizona, and they find out that these Mexican drug lords have agreed to smuggle in Iraqi and Afghani Muslims who want to kill our soldiers at this base. This is the top counter-terrorism trainings facility in the country, as I understand it. How high were the stakes with this thing, Bob?
Well, think about it. And Megan, it wasn't only the people that they were trying to bring in terms of terrorists to assist any homegrown terrorists that we have, but it was also weapons that they were trying to bring in, and perhaps even chemicals or other biological agents that could cause tremendous harm here in the United States, not only in Texas, but across the country. So you've got to remember, we've got a huge border that's unprotected. We have more drugs that come into the United States illegally from Mexico than any other country in the world.
Yeah.
So we have more methamphetamine, cocaine, heroin, and marijuana being imported over that border than any other border into the United States.
And that's bad enough, but when you couple it with terrorists and arms, it gets even worse. Bob, stand by. We do have the Lieutenant Colonel with us now from the military base. We're going to check back in with him, and then we'll come back to you. Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Garner, are you with us?
Yes, Megan, I am. How are you today?
Doing well, thanks. Thanks for being here with us. Okay, first, tell us exactly where this happened.
Well, Fort Huachuca is located in southern Arizona. We're about 75 miles southeast of Tucson and about 9 miles where I'm sitting from the Mexican border.
Okay, and this is the largest intel training center in the United States, as I understand it. 12,000 people there. All 4 branches of the military do intel training there. And now we find out that Islamic terrorists were trying to smuggle themselves and large amounts of weapons into this country across the Mexico border to do harm at your base. Is that the case?
That is the report that we received from the FBI back in May, and as we received that, we did everything that we needed to make sure that the people who work and live here on Fort Huachuca were safe.
And Colonel Garner, we understand that some of these men actually did make it into the United States before this plot was foiled. In other words, some of them got in and wound up disguising themselves once they got in.
I've seen that report, and that is what the report did say. But here at Fort Huachuca, that's not an Army issue. That would be more of an FBI issue, and we work very closely with them and have a great relationship with the FBI. Okay,
yeah, and these men supposedly shaved their beards so that they didn't look Middle Eastern. We're told they're being held at safe houses in Texas. Is that your information as well?
That is, I've read the same report that you have.
What's your reaction, Colonel, to hearing that not only were these men being smuggled in, but that these large amounts of weapons caches, Milan anti-tank missiles, Soviet surface-to-air missiles, grenade launchers, all sorts of guns, that was their intent, to use these guns at Fort Huachuca?
Yeah, Fort Huachuca was the threat, or we understood that that was the target. We took the precautions that we thought were necessary when we received that threat, and we wanted to make sure that everybody was safe here. You know, we work very closely with people to make sure that we have the security that we need. Well, the Army is obviously a target at this point in time.
Yeah, and at Fort Huachuca, have you changed your security procedures to account for the plan that these folks meant to unleash on you?
Yes, we did. When we received that threat, we took the precautions that were necessary. We changed a few things to make sure that we did have as much security on post as possible.
Very good. Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Garner, thanks so much for being here with us.
Sure. Have a great day.
We're going to check back in with Bob Strang now for some perspective on this. Bob, it sounds awfully scary. I mean, this is, you think of that Tancredo ad where he said he showed a nuclear bomb going off if we don't protect our border. These guys were terrorists trying to smuggle large arms across the border to use against United States citizens.
Right. There's 2,000 miles of border. It's open. We've got 1 million illegal people that cross that border every year. You know, it's like when I walk in the Fox building today, you know, this is a secure building. You have to show your identification. You can't get in this building unless they know who you are. At the same time, you know, when you walk in a hotel across the street, anybody can come in and out. So I kind of equate what's happening at the border is to kind of an open situation where we're at risk. It's not about, you know, just the intelligence, just the security. But when you think about it, it's who's here in this country. What access do they have? And that's what I worry about.
And Bob, the one good thing that we see coming out of this is they stopped it. I mean, they were able to unearth this, and their authorities are talking about how the communication between these intergovernment agencies worked very well here.
Well, that's a DEA informant. And keep in mind, when we look in Afghanistan, Pakistan, throughout the Middle East, in Mexico and South America, it's normally these long-term informants who give us good information time and time again that lead us to these issues. And now we're using the DEA agents in Mexico and their informants to give us information about these plots for Islamic terrorists to use the drug cartels, the biggest and most powerful in the world, to help attack us here in the U.S. Yeah. So it's more than the Mexican issue. It's more than the immigration issue. This is, Megan, this has to do with our security. This is a very big hole in our security system, and we've got to deal with it.
This is an important issue, Bob Strand.
It really is.
Thank you so much. I just want to point out for our viewers one clarification. Now, the authorities say that their prime source for this information was reliable. There was another source, a sub-source, who they believed might have had motive to lie about this whole thing, but they say nonetheless they believe in their primary